Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively we are the Office Blokes.
Yep.
And we've got a Patreon page.
We have indeed. Go and have a look at patreon.com, put in Office Blokes React. If you fancy supporting the channel and helping us out, that'd be fantastic. Loads of people have done already. Been hugely appreciated by us guys, so go and check it out.
Yeah, awesome. It helps us keep churning out this level of content, doesn't it?
Massively, absolutely does.
Putting a shift in at the moment.
Pays the bills.
And also, Office Bloke Daz on Instagram is going to tell you all about our two other amazing channels.
Cheers, Office Bloke Dave on Instagram.
That's all right, no problem.
We've got Office Blokes Try, where we try loads of different things. Coming soon on there, Cinco de Mayo, so don't miss out on that. And we've got Office Blokes Podcast, where we do podcasts. And on that channel, coming soon, which we need your help on, is Office Blokes Confidential.
Yeah, it is very true. Office Blokes Confidential is where we're going to take viewer submissions. You can email us at officeblokespodcast@gmail.com. Tag us in social media, send us videos, audio, text, well, however you want to play it. You can be anonymous or not. If you want to put your name to it, that's on you. You're brave.
Yep,
go for it. Go for
Send us your dilemmas, your problems in your personal life, any huge life choices that you might be on the verge of making that you need the expertise of 2,000 years worth of Office Blokes knowledge to try and help with.
True that.
And all I'll say, it comes with a little disclaimer: no snowflakes. We're not interested. Fuck off. So,
charming.
Yeah. On that note, Boy Scout tries to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard. I feel like
when you do it,
I feel like I heard about this story just through, I don't know if it was like a news article or it may not be the same thing, but a ridiculously clever kid that actually did manage to build some sort of nuclear reactor, and I think the government came in and just had to confiscate the lot.
I think you would, wouldn't you, really? I mean,
the government should think about it the other way and employ him.
Oh yeah, if it's
that'd be an idea, yeah.
But that, I mean,
came to work.
He's going to be the bad guy in a superhero movie, isn't he? But if you're making nuclear reactors when you're a little kid,
how old is it? Boy Scout. Boy Scout weird.
Yeah, don't know.
Don't know what to say to that one. Anyway,
it could be 38 and be a Boy Scout.
Hey.
That's true. Yeah, actually, that's true. Isn't Bear Grylls the head of the Scouts in this country?
Is he?
Is he? I don't know.
Is it Bear Grylls or is it? No, it's Ray Mays.
Right. Oh,
different.
Ray Mays. Anyway, we'll get into it. Boy Scout tries to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard.
This episode is brought to you by Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to sign up using the link in the description will get their first 2 months free. Nuclear reactors are not pieces of equipment you come across every day. They're designed to produce thermal energy that can be used for its own sake or converted into mechanical energy, and most of the time into electrical energy. They work by maintaining a chain reaction producing a steady flow of neutrons, generated by the fission of heavy nuclei, the most common of which is uranium-235 that produces the thermal heat. There are many different types of nuclear power reactors, but you certainly can't shop for one online. However, there was one kid who was determined to get his hands on a reactor for himself. Welcome to this episode of the infographic show, The Boy Scout Who Tried to Build a Nuclear Reactor.
I'm just going to put it out there. His little explanation of how nuclear reactors work is, that's now all of my knowledge on nuclear reactors.
That's everything.
I had no idea.
The bottom of it.
Yeah, how they work. I didn't know it was heat, and I didn't know it was
thermal.
Sort of, turned into say electricity.
That's why they're all have all the water in there to keep them all at a certain temperature. And
I've never even considered it, to be honest. I thought it was magic or witchcraft or something.
You might learn a bit today.
I already have.
Imagine opening your bedroom curtains one day and looking out of your window to see a strange green glow resonating from your neighbor's shed, and then noticing government trucks being loaded with barrels marked radioactive by men dressed in hazmat suits outside your home. You might think you had been transported onto the set of the latest Hollywood sci-fi blockbuster. But in 1995, for the residents of Gulf Manor, Michigan, this was no made-for-TV drama. A young teenage boy had built a nuclear breeder reactor in his mother's potting shed, a crazy idea he thought up while working on his Atomic Energy Merit Badge in an attempt to earn Eagle Scout status. The boy's name was David Charles Hahn, who, not surprisingly, is sometimes called the Radioactive Boy Scout or the Nuclear Boy Scout. So how did teenager David Hahn go from being an everyday goofy schoolboy to nuclear reactor developer? Ken Silverstein is an American journalist who used to be the Washington editor and blogger at Harper's Magazine. He met David in the late 90s to try and figure out exactly what happened by hearing the story from the proverbial horse's mouth. He described David as oddly dispassionate, though polite, until they began to discuss his nuclear adventures. Then, for 5 hours, David became enthused as he talked about working in his backyard laboratory. He explained.
So he's like, he's not asked whatsoever, and he talks to him about his reactor, and he goes on for 5 hours straight about it. He must have some sort of government job.
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you, really?
If not,
clearly, he must be a clever guy.
If not, then
Government are not that smart, though, are they? They don't employ smart people.
Well, yeah, but
No, they don't.
Well, ours don't.
I think the worry would be that he'd defect somewhere. Someone would offer him millions to go to Iran or somewhere. Yeah.
Good point.
Silverstein that he used coffee filters and pickle jars to handle deadly substances such as radium and nitric acid whilst working on developing his reactor. David was a shy teenager and so had only confided in a few friends about his crazy and ambitious project, but never allowed anyone to witness his experiments. He said to Silverstein, "I was very emotional as a kid, and those experiments gave me a way to get away from that. They gave me some respect." As David became more and more preoccupied with science, he had less and less time for friends, though during his high school years, he did have a girlfriend, Heather Baudet. Heather was 3 years younger than David, and she says he was sweet and caring, but not always the perfect date. Heather's mom described David this way: "He was a nice kid and always presentable, but we had to tell him not to talk to anybody. He could eat and drink, but for God's sakes, don't talk to the guests about the food's chemical composition." But how did David advance from being this somewhat geeky experimenting student to a boy with a reactor? David was a Boy Scout, and Eagle Scouts must earn 21 merit badges. 11 are mandatory, such as first aid and citizenship in the community. The final 10 are optional, and Scouts can choose from dozens of choices ranging from American business to woodwork. Of course, David chose to specialize and earn a merit badge in atomic energy. He was awarded his Atomic Energy Merit Badge on May 10, 1991, 5 months shy of his 15th birthday. To earn the badge, David visited a hospital radiology unit to learn about the medical uses of radioisotopes. He made a drawing showing how nuclear fission occurs, but most importantly, David built a model reactor using simple household apparatus, including a juice can, coat hangers, soda straws, matches, and rubber bands. The Scouts were impressed, but David had far greater ambitions. He got to work with writing as many as 20 letters a day, pretending to be a physics instructor at Chippewa Valley High School. This budding young entrepreneur approached groups in his merit badge pamphlet, such as the DOE, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or NRC, the American Nuclear Society, the Edison Electric Institute, and the Atomic Industrial Forum, the Nuclear Power Industries Trade Group. He obtained all sorts of information. The NRC was by far the most helpful, and David managed to engage the agency's Director of Isotope Production and Distribution, Donald Erb. Erb provided tips on isolating certain radioactive elements. He gave a list of isotopes that can sustain a chain reaction and imparted a piece of information that would soon prove to be vital to David's plans. Nothing produces neutrons as well as beryllium. The NRC had now given David all the information.
Just wow. This kid's smart, isn't he? He's really
smart. Science lesson in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit.
He's smart but crafty.
Where did you get beryllium?
Well, I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? It's going to be some obscure place, but
that sounds like he'll just write to one of these institutes and get some sent to him, I think. So,
isn't that the name of that band we reacted to?
Berrywam.
Oh yeah,
brilliant.
He probably just ordered it off Alibaba, didn't he? He just turned up after a couple of weeks.
He required to build a reactor, and he just needed to source the raw materials. He typed up a shopping list of items that contained very small amounts of the 14 radioactive isotopes required for the first step. Americium-241, he discovered, could be found in smoke detectors, radium-226 in antique luminous dial clocks, uranium-238 and minute quantities of uranium-235 in a black ore called pitch blende, and thorium-232 in Coleman-style gas lanterns. David created a neutron gun and was ready to irradiate. He thought that uranium-235, which is used in atomic weapons, would provide the biggest reaction, but getting your hands on uranium is no simple task. He hunted hundreds of miles of upper Michigan looking for hot rocks with his Geiger counter, but all he could find was a quarter trunkload of pitch blende, a radioactive uranium-rich mineral on the shores of Lake Huron. He also posed as a professor again, buying materials for a nuclear research laboratory. He obtained a few samples, but not enough. He eventually decided to switch from uranium and instead hunt down some thorium-232, which, when bombarded with neutrons, produces uranium-233. David knew from his merit badge Boy Scout pamphlet that the mantle used in commercial gas lanterns is coated with a compound containing thorium-232.
What is in this pamphlet? I thought you went to Scouts to learn how to make fires out of twigs.
I don't go camping and stuff.
It seems like they kind of led him down the path a little bit, doesn't it?
Wow.
I'm just thinking, he's probably in North Korea now, isn't he?
Hey?
Advising the North Korean government.
He's probably Elon Musk. That's going to be the twist. He grew up to be Elon Musk.
Yeah. He's a clever lad, though.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
She's just got football. Got football and fucking gone out to the park and played footy. Dicking about in his shed.
Dozens of lantern mantles from surplus stores, and using a blowtorch, reduced them into a pile of ash so he could extract the thorium-232. Next, David needed radium. He knew radium was used in the paint on the face.
Where's that blowtorch gone? Oh, just borrowing it.
David's got it. Yeah. David's got it in the shed, fucking about with that lantern again.
Yeah, he's just burning stuff. That's all.
He's a complicated kid. He likes to burn things. He hides in the shed all day, every day.
Yeah, he don't get.
Just go back a bit because they're saying it's the compound on this or the composite on this is on the face of the clock. Is it or something you said?
Yeah, I've seen that before. Old watch factories and stuff. The buildings are radioactive, aren't they? I've heard that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Using a blowtorch, reduced them into a pile of ash so he could extract the thorium-232. Next, David needed radium. He knew radium was used in the paint on the faces of clocks, automobiles, and airplane instrument panels until the late 1960s. So he began visiting junkyards and antique stores in search of radium-coated dashboard panels or clocks. Once he had enough, David secured a sample of barium sulfate from the X-ray ward at a local hospital and used it to concentrate the radium. Now 17, he made significant progress, and David planned to build a model breeder reactor, but he needed at least 30 pounds of enriched uranium to sustain a chain reaction. He was determined to get as far as he could by trying to get his various radioisotopes to interact with one another. David said no matter what happened, there would be something changing into something, some kind of action going on there. He monitored his mini reactor at the Golf Manor laboratory with his Geiger counter. The level of radiation after a few weeks was
David, something's going to change into something. Yeah, David is now Dean Ice. I
thought they were going to say definitely never grew hair on his balls. Stood too close to that reactor for too long.
Far greater than it was at the time of assembly. I know I transformed some radioactive materials. Even though there was no critical pile, I know that some of the reactions that go on in a breeder reactor went on to a minute extent, he said. It was 2:40 a.m. on August 31st, 1994, when the Clinton Township Police responded to a call concerning a young man who had been spotted in a residential neighborhood apparently stealing tires from a car. When they caught up with David, they discovered over 50 foil-wrapped cubes of mysterious gray powder in the trunk of his car. Small discs and cylindrical metal objects, lantern mantles, mercury switches, a clock face, ores, fireworks, vacuum tubes, and assorted chemicals and acids. The police must have been baffled. They called in the Michigan State Police Bomb Squad to examine David's car and the State Department of Public Health, or DPH, to supply radiological assistance. State radiological experts found aluminum pie pans, jars of acids, Pyrex cups, milk crates, and other materials strewn about in David's makeshift shed laboratory, much of it contaminated with excessive levels of radioactive material, especially americium-241 and thorium-232. How high, you're wondering? A vegetable can, for example, registered at 50,000 counts per minute, which is about 1,000 times higher than normal levels of background radiation. After determining that no radioactive materials had leaked outside the shed, state authorities sealed it and petitioned the federal government for help. Unfortunately, David went into a serious depression after his laboratory was shut down. Years of painstaking work had been thrown in the garbage or buried deep underground. Students at Chippewa Valley had taken to calling him Radioactive Boy, and when his girlfriend Heather sent David Valentine's balloons at his high school, they were seized by the principal, who apparently feared they had been inflated with chemical gas.
No, he was saying something else to the poor girl, wasn't he? Dirty perv.
I'm wondering if he was a fucking meth lab, and when he got caught, he went, no, I'm building a nuclear reactor.
Yeah, covering himself, yeah.
You know what, though? It's screaming of someone to me. I'm making an assumption here. It's screaming of someone that's on the spectrum, though. You know, that he's like, very depressed when his lab's taken away. It's everything to him, isn't it? That's his outlet.
He obviously needs something like that. Yeah, his outlet, something really technical and...
He's clever, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like, obviously very, very clever.
Yeah, but go and do it properly.
But how do you do that when you're 17? If you've got all that knowledge and all that sort of curiosity,
sort of overly clever, isn't he? By the sound of it, he's just got that much knowledge, and where else do you go for it?
Get a girlfriend, chop her up.
Whoa, hold on
no, we don't condone any of that. Moving on swiftly.
David needed to continue his experiments. David had hoped to pursue a career as a nuclear specialist, but he ended up enlisting in the Navy. EPA scientists believe his life expectancy may have been greatly shortened by his exposure to radioactivity, particularly since he spent large amounts of time in the small enclosed shed with large amounts of radioactive material. David died on Tuesday, September 27, 2016, at the age of 39. His father confirmed that the cause of death was not from radiation exposure, but alcohol poisoning. And while we can't help you build your own power plant, we can suggest taking interesting classes.
Poor kid, though. I kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah.
I say kid, he's older than me when he died.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what a shame.
It's obviously like quite a sensitive guy, high intelligence.
Yeah. I think you were right before what you were saying.
Yeah. They've taken away his outlet.
I think some people are overly intelligent, though, and maybe he just couldn't cope with it. All that, like I say, didn't have the outlet to sort of use all that intelligence in the end.
Those levels of intelligence are a curse for a lot of people, aren't they? Unless they can go down that route, unless he became a nuclear physicist, he was never going to be happy by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that's the type of thing you needed.
But if you can build that from fucking clocks and what have you, then the government should be employing people like that.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they go by the wayside, don't they?
Because the thing is, I think quite a lot of people who are in that industry have learned how things are done and do things in a certain way. This guy's kind of a rogue. He's like a renegade, isn't he? Yeah. And people like that are the ones that discover things and find new ways of doing things, aren't they?
He's only a rogue and a renegade because he hasn't got the right materials to do what he wants to do. Yeah. If he had all the right materials, he'd piss it, put it together in a day.
Yeah, he needs a proper environment, didn't he? Yeah. That's what he needed.
But what I mean is his DIY sort of ethos going into a real lab. Who knows what he could have achieved, because he's thinking differently to the rest of the scientists, isn't there?
Which is where great things come from.
I feel like people thinking outside the box, wasn't he?
Sounds like
it was good. I enjoyed that.
It was, wasn't it? It was really interesting.
It was interesting stuff. Hope you guys like that too. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell, head over to our Instagram, Office Bloke Daz on Instagram, Office Bloke Dave on Instagram, and head over to Patreon as well and show us some love and support if you don't mind. And catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers.